Good evening, everyone. My name is Simone Eccleston. I'm the Director of Hip Hop Culture and Contemporary Music at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And on behalf of myself and our Artistic Director, Q-Tip, I would like to thank you for joining us today as we launch our Spring 2021 virtual season with our hip hop listening session, Life in 5 Edition. Life in 5 is a Ken-Sen hip-hop digital storytelling initiative, providing individuals with an opportunity to 5 songs that help to tell their story. Conceived as an ongoing video series and collaboratively generated playlist, our hope is that it inspires, educates, connects, and engages the public in an active conversation about music and the artists that have been a part of the soundtrack for our lives. As a live complement to the series, we've decided to bring back our listening sessions and have assembled an incredible panel this evening comprised of friends new and old, including Morning Hustle host Angie Ange, DJ producer and Hip Hop Culture Council member J.PERIOD, and co-host of Spotify's new morning show, The Get Up, Xavier X Jernigan, who is also a founding Hip Hop Culture Council member. To help facilitate the magic this evening, we have DJ Raydar Ellis providing our soundtrack, and none other than the brilliant ethnomusicologist, Dr. Fredara M. Hadley, leading our conversation. We encourage you to get involved in tonight's session by sharing your Life in 5 songs in the chat so that Raydar can play them a little later in the program. In addition, we want to encourage you to participate in the series at large by posting your Life in 5 using templates on our website and the hashtag Life in 5 in Ken-Sen Hip Hop. We encourage you to do so as we will feature you in social in weeks to come, and we'll be dropping new videos every Thursday, so stay tuned. In addition, we want to make sure that you join us on Wednesday, April 28th at 6 p.m. for the Power of Club Quarantine, a special conversation with founding Hip Hop Culture Council members D Nice and Jason King, talking about uniting the world through music in times of flux. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our moderator and host for this evening, ethnomusicologist and African-American music professor at Juilliard, who is also featured in the PBS docuseries, The Black Church. Please welcome Dr. Fredara Hadley.
What up, Simone? So good to see you again. Thank you for having us back at the Kennedy Center, showing that the Kennedy Center is a home for hip hop. We're so excited to bring you this listening session tonight. And we're excited to see what songs y'all bring to it too. And we have an all-star panel. And, you know, on a day like today, we need even more joy, more vibes, more hip hop. And so that's what we're here to bring you. So act up in the chat, act up in the comments section. If you're streaming on Facebook or YouTube, we want to hear from you tonight. So without further ado, let me start bringing up this incredible panel that we have with us this evening. So first off, let's welcome Angie Ange. I'm going to tell you a bit about her. After successfully launching the Angie Ange Morning Show on 93.9 WKYS and becoming the DC area's first woman to lead a morning show on a hip hop station, Angie helped to create and build the syndicated morning show for Urban One, now known as The Morning Hustle, heard in over 40 markets nationwide. She opens every show with her morning motivation to inspire and energize her listeners, and is proudly the show's voice of reason. Celebrated by the Source magazine and considered a trusted media voice in the Black community, Angie is a well-known philanthropist and youth advocate in her DC community through her nonprofit organization, College is Cool. What's up, Angie?
What's happening? I'm excited to be here. This is such a cool affair. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing my Life in 5.
We're looking forward to hearing it. So please join me as we welcome our second panelist to the conversation, Mr. J.PERIOD. And so welcome, Jay. So let me tell you a little bit about him. Called the most creative mixtape producer of all time by music icon Questlove. I mean, come on. J.PERIOD is an Emmy Award-winning musical storyteller whose work connects cultures, eras, and styles. J.PERIOD's resume boasts collaborations with Grammy winners The Roots, Nas, Q-Tip, Kanye, Common, Mary J. Blige, John Legend, and Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Lin-Manuel Miranda on the Billboard #1 and RIAA certified gold album, The Hamilton Mixtape. Currently, J.PERIOD has brought together an epic lineup of artists for a trailblazing new adventure. His debut album, Story to Tell, a musical journey in 3 acts, with Chapter 1 due out this month on April 30th. What's up, J.PERIOD? Welcome.
What's going on? I'm going to have to bring you on the road, Fredara. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you.
Hey, when y'all got stats like that, my job is easy. All right.
I'm happy to be here. I'm always excited to work with the Kennedy Center. And, I'm all about storytelling. So this is going to be fun.
We're looking forward to hearing more stories from you this evening. Last but not least, our last panelist, Xavier X Jernigan, my FAMU brother and kinfolk. He is in-house talent at Spotify and co-hosts Spotify's new hit flagship daily morning show, The Get Up. He also hosts The Window and The Input and serves as a host for both internal, external, and on top of that, virtual Spotify events around the world. What's up, X? Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Jay. You know how we do. We family. Angie, I'm excited to do this with you tonight. I'm excited about what you brought to the game. Fredara, you know how we do. Kennedy Center, you know how we do it. I did a Life in 5 before. That was pre-pandemic. We didn't know it was going to go down like this. So I need this. So I'm excited to do it again. I'm excited to be back.
And last but certainly not least, the DJ that's making all of this possible this evening, my brother and partner in all things Life in 5 at the Kennedy Center, the one and only DJ Raydar Ellis. What's up, Raydar?
Give it up for the DJ.
We all became the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. What's up, y'all? How's it going? Great to be here playing some Life in 5,
For real. Happy to see you, brother. And I'm going to tell the folks a little bit about you because they're going to hear your skills, but I want them to know who they're hearing from on this evening. Raydar Ellis is a jack of all trades, master of many. As a DJ, producer, and MC, Raydar has performed as a solo artist, served as a core member of the Revive Big Band, and shared the stage with internationally known artists including Robert Glasper, Pharoah Monch, Bilal, Mark the Clive Lowe, Michelle Ndegeocello, Ms. Lauryn Hill, Marcus Strickland, Ben Williams, Fred Wesley, and Anna Wise, and Sunny Moon. He has presented at prestigious venues like the Kennedy Center, where we are tonight, and MoMA, and received Grammy Awards and nominations for recordings like Esperanza Spalding's Radio Music Society and Terry Lynn Carrington's Waiting Game. He is currently a professor at Berklee College of Music. That's what Raydar is. I'm just excited y'all let me hang with y'all, to be honest. Thank you.
Okay, Juilliard. Come on now.
Yeah, right.
Come on, Rattler, Juilliard. We know what you up to.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm good. All right, we're going to slide right into it, and we're going to hear from Angie first in her first song selection. So I'm excited about your choices. Please tell the people what song you're leading off with this evening and why.
Yes, so my Life in 5, I feel like, and we were talking about this earlier. I'm 36, and I feel like anybody that's a little bit younger than me, anybody that's a little bit older than me, especially for women, I feel like the one person that had the soundtrack of our lives, that was telling our stories in real time, that was like our personal journalist, was Lauryn Hill. And so all of my Life in 5 songs, I chose one of my favorite MCs of all time, one of my favorite artists of all time, and that's Lauryn Hill. So we're going to start with Doo-Wop That Thing. Doo-Wop That Thing comes at a time in my life when I was at Howard University. And, this was like Lauryn Hill. I felt like she was telling all of us, like, be aware of the distractions, be aware of, that thing. And we all have that thing in our lives, whether it's another person, a relationship. It could be, there's so many things that could take you off course. And so it was like a word to the wise that I used to play over and over again. So don't let that thing get the best of you. So let's run it.
Since you were looking for your friend, the one you let hit it and never called you again. Remember when he told you you act like you ain't him, they give him a little trim to begin. Now you think you really gonna pretend? wasn't down and you called him again. Plus when you give it up so easy, you ain't even fooling him. If you did it then you probably can. Talking out your neck saying you're a Christian, a Muslim, sleeping with the gin. Now that was the sin that did Jezebel in. Who you gonna tell when the repercussions spit? Showing off your ass cause you thinking it's a trend, girlfriend. Let me break it down for you again. You know I only said cause I'm truly genuine. Don't be a hard rock when you really are, baby girl. Respect is just the minimum. Nigga, when you still defending them now. Girlfriend is only human. Don't think I haven't been through the same predicament. Let it sit inside your head like a million women in Philly pen. It's silly when girls sell their souls because it's sin. Look at where you be in. Hair weaves like Europeans. Fake nails done by Koreans. Come again. Yo, a win-win. Come again. A win-win. Come again. My friend, come again. Yeah.
It be that thing. It be that thing. I'm telling you. It was a word to the wise. She was trying to tell us all. She was telling us all. In the breakdown,
this right here? Come on, man.
Man, that felt good. Telling you, be that thing.
Woo! Great way to start it off, Ange.
Yeah, that was man. Like that song, I used to listen to it. It's like, again, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill probably came out when I was in high school, maybe like a freshman or something in high school. And it's not until like the way it aged in my life has been amazing. Even to this day, whether it's the Miseducation or even her whole Unplugged album. I remember watching that in high school too. And I remember how much it resonated with me, the whole album. Yeah. And I remember the next day watching all the reviews and people saying she was crazy. And then she just kind of went away from there. But I felt like she was talking right to me. So I don't know if I was a little off, but just the way her music is always like just touched you with the messages. And I love that she says, like, one of my favorite parts of that song, she's like, don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem. Yeah, she says respect is just the minimum. And it's like, again, she could like put you in your place or give you that word to the wise, but then she also says, like, don't think I haven't been through the same predicament. Like it's like that relatability. It's like she's like really saying, like, sis, let me talk to you about that thing. And I definitely feel like I listened.
It was ill, the video and how it was split between present day and back in the day. And that was like a cool concept for a video, but really it's just saying it's been the same thing. This has been going on. Like our parents dealt with it, our grandparents, and it's just a universal truth. So like on a like subliminal level, she was just communicating that through a really dope video. This song.
And honestly, I spoke to her about this once, and she was talking about how the roots of that idea was in the music her parents used to play her in the house, that doo-wop.
Right.
That was the seed of that idea, and marrying those worlds together like she did in the split screen and the style of the song is amazing.
So dope. Yeah. And she was pregnant at the time, but people didn't know. They did the shots like cut off. They cut it like off right at the belly. Yeah. So good, man.
Well, I mean, we already up, clearly. With that one, we already up.
Points on the board. Points
set the tone. I said, let's set the tone a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, I felt like that was devotional and opening and got us to start from, so we can only build. So, Mr. J.PERIOD.
Let's go, Jay.
Next.
So, for my first choice, I decided for the three of these that we're going to play, I was going to kind of trace the three sort of paths that my life has been on in terms of hip hop. It all begins with me as a fan. And, just to show you how far back we go with this, I'm drawing from Beat Street. This is the original VHS.
They don't even know about Beat Street or VHS.
So this was really the first time I discovered hip hop was through this movie. And it was a world that just, fascinated me. And I remember this record, Beat Street Breakdown is the first song I ever heard other than the folk music that my dad, listened to, that really broke down the state of the world. And I never heard anything like that on a record, especially not one that sounded like this. And, you know, it was a window into a world. It was also just a sort of lesson in what, you know, music could really do. And so I remember I heard it, and I used to transcribe the lyrics of this and bring it to my parents, like, look at what this thing is that they're talking about and how important it is. So I figured we would start our journey there with the thing that started me off as a fan with Beat Street. So Raydar, let him hear. And shout out to Grandmaster Melly Mel on the mic.
The bad news on the war of peace that everybody would lose. The rise and fall, the last great empire. The sound of the whole world caught on fire. The ruthless struggle, the desperate gamble. The game that left the whole world in shambles. The cheats, the lies, the alibis, and the foolish attempt to conquer the skies. Lost in space, and what is it worth? The president just forgot about spending more time paying, and maybe even trillions. The cost of weapons ran into zillions. It's gold in the street, I'm under feet. And the children in Africa don't even eat. Flies on the faces, they're living like mice. And the houses even make the ghetto look nice, The water tastes funny, it's forever too sunny. And they work all month and don't make no money. A fight for power, a nuclear shower. Of people shout out in the darkest hour. The sights unseen and voices unheard. And finally the bomb gets the last word. Christian killed Muslims and German killed Jews. And everybody's bodies are used and abused, Minds are poisoned and souls are polluted. Superiority complex is deep rooted. Allegiance and license and people got prices. Egomaniacs control the self-righteous. Nothing is sacred and nothing is pure. So the revelation of death is our cure. Hitler and Caesar, Custard and Reagan, Napoleon, Castro, Mussolini and Begin, Genghis Khan and the Shah of Iran. Men through the blood of the weaker man. The people's in terror, the leaders made the error. And now they can't even look in the mirror. Cause we gotta suffer while things get rougher. And that's the reason why we got to get tougher. So learn from the past and work for the future. And don't be a slave to no computer. Cause the children of man inherits the land. And the future of the world is in your hands. So just throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you believe that you're the future, screaming out and say, oh yeah!
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah!
Rock!
All right.
Melly Mel got to end on that. You know what's craziest to me about that verse is so much of what he's talking about is still relevant today.
Yes.
Don't be a slave to no computer.
No computer. Who would have thought?
And so much of it was so far ahead of its time, and it still holds up.
Man, I couldn't agree more. Yo, I saw this. My babysitter at the time took me and my brother to see this joint because we just kept begging to be brought to the theater to see this. So we saw this in the movie theater in Daytona Beach, Florida. And we talked about this movie on the whole way home. Changed my life, man. Changed me and my brother's life.
Indeed.
Yeah, no, that right there, like you said, so much of it remains true, and just the passion of it, like the kind of raw, like that anger, like just being fed up with it, you know, being fed up with the poverty, being fed up with the abuse, and again, that word to the wise, like, and then he says at the end, like, that the power is in your hands, you know, and it's interesting. I know it says don't be a slave to the computer, and I get where we are today, but it's like there's so much power in that computer though. And so if there's power like today, I don't think anybody thought that this phone would have this much power.
Right.
And today, when you think about changing the world, technology is like a great equalizer. I know a lot of people focus so much on what it isn't, right? Or how negative it can be. But man, I've seen technology change people's lives. I literally was just with a guy he said he'd been broke his whole life until YouTube last year.
Wow.
And figured out how to crack that algorithm in YouTube. I mess with you not. He's making crazy money right now doing something that he loves, man.
On that same note, if you think about it, and this doesn't get said a lot, hip hop is built on technology and putting things together, like the invention of the turntable. That was technology. That is technology.
True.
So we always hustled. Like, that's the thing I love about hip hop. We literally built, just like the person you're talking about, Ange. We literally built something from nothing, plugging, wiring into like street lamps in the park. Like this whole culture is built on that. So it's deep when you think about it, man.
Yeah, when I interviewed Q-Tip for the mixtape I did with him, he was telling a story about how in the Bronx at that time, music education was cut. There was nowhere to get that in your parents' record collection. And that's what drove a lot of these kids into their parents' record collection. And the origin of sampling came from that. It was sort of like the limitations ended up sparking the creativity that became hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all getting us right to the root and the fundamentals of all of it. And I really appreciate it. And I know X has some stuff on deck that's going to take us into that. So go ahead. What you got, X?
So you know what, with me, up to this point in hip hop, so the 3 songs that I selected are from 3 key formative points of my life. And with this particular song, up until this point, all I heard or I loved and appreciated hip hop for was the artistry, the beats, people that looked like me, the swagger they went to the microphone with, the way they put the words together. But this was one of the first songs where conceptually what this MC talked about actually spoke to me. And it was stuff deeper, like introducing the concept of being a vegetarian, or like talking about Malcolm X and like just like my skin tone, like just all these different things. And it just started forming and planting these seeds. And Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, Knowledge Reigns Supreme over nearly everybody. The whole thing with that is he's saying like it's cool to be smart. And my whole thing coming up is I was never afraid to be smart, but I can't say I got there by myself. It's because of people like the teacher, KRS-One, came with songs like this one, My Philosophy. Drop that joint, Raydar.
In about 4 seconds, a teacher will begin to speak. I played the 9 and you played the target. You all know my name, so I guess I'll just start it. Or should I say start this? I'm the artist, artist, new concepts in their heart. Yo, cause I'm a teacher, and Scott is a scholar.
It ain't about money, but we all make dollars. That's why I walk with my head up.
You got a little delay though.
You
like an ad get behind the record though.
This is a line. I'm so, I'm this, I'm that.
Yes.
I'm not white or red or black, I'm brown. From the boogie down, productions, of course, I'm even keep pumping. Others say they're bad, but they're hugging. Let me tell you something now about hip hop, about nice melody, a pencil, a marker, mainly what I write is for the average New Yorker. Talking, trying to show how black people are walking. But I don't walk this way before state, but we reinforce stereotypes of the day. And all my people eat chicken and watermelon. Talk broken English and work. Come on, man. The way some act and rap is kind of whack. And intelligence. They don't care because their company's selling it. It's my philosophy on the industry. Or commercialize all the lyrics. Part of your film from intelligent brown man. No goat or a turkey or a hamburger. Because to me that's suicide, that's murder. So what we call hip hop. And what it meant to DJ Scott. Yo,
dope.
He was breaking down just like the pillars of hip hop, right? On one hand, and then on the other hand, he's saying, "This is who I am. I'm not these stereotypes they push down on us. I'm saying I'll walk with my head up." Hearing that, like as a preteen, is powerful. I can't tell y'all how much of that I walk around with every day, like bringing all of that with me, and the fact that he's just absolutely ripping on the track, man, it's just amazing to me. Amazing. I get lost in that song every time it comes on.
You on mute, Jay.
You're on mute, Jay.
Sorry, this is another record I remember transcribing all the lyrics.
Yes.
And again, it's sort of like to show like the power of this music, because just everything you're saying, X, like even for somebody from a universe totally different from the Bronx,
right?
It spoke to me. And there was justice and righteousness in that. And that was the thing that made me gravitate towards it as well. And again, try to show my parents, like, look at this poetry.
Right.
Like, poetry.
Yes, it is. And, you know, what's really dope is hearing a man speak on being a vegetarian, you know,
right,
and his health.
This is 88,
right? Like,
we want to talk about that.
Right. He's talking about not eating meat and, just protecting his mind. He's talking about the companies, like, how the companies are packaging and selling. Yeah, I mean, how dope is that? Like, that's pretty refreshing.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I got to say, he is one of the artists, Boogie Down Productions, but KRS-One, who just gave me a conscious, but it was cool though. Mm-hmm. It was cool to have a conscience. It was cool to be intelligent. And he's just saying these words, and it just really hits me in the heart every single time, man. So this is part of my foundation and part of my DNA to this day.
I like X that you talked about, like the fact that you're hearing this as a young, a preteen essentially, right? So like just how that could change your life, just hearing that one song. So like, did it make? I know you said you were walking around like a young king. Did you like? How did your whole swag change?
No, because in the video, right? So I had Raydar start at the second verse. But in the video, he says the first verse, just says it to the camera, like straight onto the camera. And then the beat comes in where Raydar brought it in. So it's almost like he's talking to you. And then that beat drops, because a lot of songs back then, especially if you weren't from New York, you first heard them watching the video, like on VH, like on Video Soul or something like that. This was even before Rap City. So that swagger that he did it with, and then having all the people behind him, it felt like the hood was behind him. So it just gave me another swagger. Like, I can be smart, I can be cool, and I can be hard.
I love it.
Man.
And I'm picking up themes both about these deeper truths that hip hop always carries, like keeping us focused, elevation, as well as the importance of technology. Hip hop likely would not have grown as fast and been as influential as it was without cable television, music videos, which all represent a new medium of connection and whatnot. So thank you, X, for that. Round one was lit, y'all. Y'all broke your A game. I mean, with y'all bios, you can't do no other way. But I mean, like we there, we good in there. And we going back to Angie to tell us about her second song.
All right, second song we're gonna go with staying in the L Boogie lane, because like I said, my life in 5 is all Lauryn Hill songs. We're gonna stay in the Miseducation for a little bit, and I'm going with Everything Is Everything. And in this one, she does a combination of singing and rapping. But and I remember she talks about like just that you can't control everything. And I think that that's a lesson that I'm just now learning in my, in my 30s on my journey, is that like there was so much that I thought I had to be in control of, so much control I thought I had that I didn't have. Especially in my career, and I thought I had played it so well. I thought I had played it so perfect. And then like when I realized how much control I didn't have, like I'm fighting for that control. And a song like this for Lauryn Hill is just one of those things where it's like, everything is everything. Sometimes as she says, what is meant to be will be. It's about like just kind of letting things go and letting things unfold the way they're supposed to, and not the way that you think they should. So yeah, everything is everything.
Raydar, I know you got it.
Everything is everything. What is meant to be will be.
There you go.
Must come spring.
It comes eventually. Everything is everything. What is meant to be will be. Understand that everything is everything. After winter,
There you go.
Wow.
change it comes eventually. I wrote these words for everyone who struggles in their youth, who won't accept deception instead of what is true. It seems we lose the game.
Like we lose the game before we even start to play.
We even start to play.
That's a mean line too.
Right, and for right now.
Who made these rules? We're so confused. Easily led astray. Let me tell you that everything is everything. Everything is everything. Everything is everything.
Must come spring.
Everything is everything.
Yeah. I was gonna say that rap part.
Yo, this was
I thought to say, keep going.
that's the hard part about it. I was like, should I just play it and play the whole song? Because I'm totally down to do that. But I know we got like a time thing in it. So
She was more powerful than two Cleopatras. I mean, let me, it's crazy because I think especially when you do radio for so long, it's a passion, it's something you love, but you're under a corporation and you start to see things very differently over time as you grow. So when I first was doing radio, I'm doing a night show, I'm doing overnights, and it's just all passion. You're running off adrenaline, you're running off a dream. It's a very different experience than as you grow in your career, you climb that ladder. And then I went to afternoon drive and then morning show. Now you're at a place where you see everything so differently, and it's like all those questions she had, like who made these rules, we're so confused. It's like I done lost the game, I didn't even play. All of those questions are things that throughout my life, and again, it's in particular with my career, I found myself experiencing in a way where at the end of all that, you're going through all that confusion, all that chaos, and her conclusion is that everything is everything. You got to let it go, and you got to go through certain seasons to get to the next season, and that it's going to be okay. It's almost like she says all that to basically say it's going to be okay, even though there's just so much confusion and so much that you open your eyes to, and you're like, this ain't what I thought it was.
Yes, I feel like that's a perfect song coming out of or in the midst of the season that we're in.
Absolutely.
The pandemic and the verdicts, all of that, to just kind of check in with yourself is a great song for that.
Yeah, and a timeless one. Honestly, the fact that that was written when in 99, and to this day, every single word, it feels prophetic. It feels like she's talking
right
to you, even now.
Yeah,
even now.
I think that's part of the magic of Lauryn Hill.
Y'all, it just hit me listening right then and there, the symbolism of the video, right? So it's the turntable, in the city, and it's kind of almost like she's talking about the game is rigged. Essentially, it's like we're running in circles. It's that race, and then when the cuts come in, the people fall down, she falls down, but she has to get back up. That's deep.
That's deep.
That never hit me. I just thought the video looked cool at the time, and then I knew the lyrics. But it just now hit me how deep that is, man. That visual.
Levels. We got levels. And I took a peek at what J.PERIOD has for us, and again, you about to.
Yeah, this one, it's funny that's an interesting segue into mine, because I think all the power that she's talking about, all the emotion of that record, the record that I'm putting as my second is an earlier version of that, and that is Pete Rock and CL Smooth's Reminisce. On so many levels, it was the first song I ever heard, first hip hop song I ever heard that sort of took the emotion of loss and made it a tribute. And so much of my work in the mixtape world has been about paying tribute to artists, and Reminisce is sort of the first record that I really encountered that felt that way. And not to mention, it is a perfect song. The beat is perfect. The vocals are perfect. CL Smooth is painting pictures with words in a way, again, that, you hadn't really heard quite in that way, paying tribute to Trouble T. Roy, who was a Heavy D dancer who actually died in a performance. He fell off of a high-rise speaker. Heavy D was so beloved, and his crew was so beloved that all of hip hop sort of, came together to mourn that loss. And it really is just a remarkable record. We're going to skip past the intro, but I got to give credit to Pete Rock as well for being one of the first producers I ever heard to, bring in beats and then creep out. And then we go into the thing. And it was sort of like always telling a story in music. And again, this was a record that to this day, you drop this in a DJ set from the moment Raydar's about to drop it, and Lord have mercy, the place goes wild. So Raydar, I think it's time to hit him with the record.
Put your hands up. your hands up. Listen.
That's where you get your lighter, whatever.
Yeah. Unopened. I will never open it.
Lights up. I reminisce for a spell, or shall I say think back 22 years ago to keep it on track. The birth of a child on the 8th of October. But my granddaddy came sober. Count all the fingers and the toes. Now I suppose your little black boy grows. 18 years younger than my mama, but I really got beaten with the girl love drama. In single parenthood, there I stood. By the time she was 21, had another one. This one's a girl, let's name her Pam. Same father as the first, but you don't give a damn. Irresponsible, plain not thinking. Papa said chill, but the brother keep winking. Still he won't down, you would tear out your hide. On your side while the baby make a slide. When mama got wise to the game, the youngest of 5 kids, hun, here it is. After 10 years without no spouse, mama's getting married in the house. Listen, positive over negative, the woman a master. Mother Queen's rise in the chapter. Deja vu, tell you what I'm gonna do when they reminisce over you, my God. Woo! Woo!
Again, the best song of all time.
That's how we like to do it in the 90s.
I mean, I challenge you to find a better hip hop song in the history of hip hop than
that's
that.
up there.
Yeah. Doesn't exist.
Up there. That may be the best beat ever made by anybody ever.
Indeed.
Not mad at that.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
Case.
You know, just hearing like kind of like him speaking on that whole situation. You think about all the families that have been affected by that same scenario, right? And what does that mean for, like, you know, the future? Like this pattern, you know, like how that affected the future, the children, you know, that are made in those circumstances. It just kind of made me think about like there are consequences, you know, to all of that.
Yeah, and I got a shout out in the chat right now in the comments. A lot of people are talking about Akash saying this track right here started my love affair with hip hop, and somebody shouting out the Tom Scott sample. Yes, for sure, which Pete Rock flipped for this. I think this is one of those records that is what we call a first listen record. You know, the first moment you hear it, it just sticks to your ribs.
Yeah,
and it never goes away. And I think that really is true to this day with that record.
I like the level of detail he went in telling his autobiography, like the age his mom was having kids young. Like my mom had my brother at 18 and me at 19. So it was just another level. And then like he's essentially talking about the judgment that comes with that. And even some of the judgment he had against his own mom, because that's a real thing too, right? We judge our parents. And he's talking about his grandfather, like people being drunk in his family. And then later in the song, he goes down to break down like how proud he is of his family. Like my Uncle Sterling's got the latest, strive to be loud because I got no choice and run my own business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all these details made me think about my family and how dope my family is, even with our own contradictions and complications and our struggles. It just made me know that like, this is what family is. Family is messy and family is sloppy. And in the midst of loss, you can still celebrate, because sometimes we get like bogged down in a loss. A connection I see between like this song and my first pick is I learned about Scott LaRock. Like I didn't know who Scott LaRock was at that time, and I was like, "Who's this Scott LaRock person?" KRS-One keeps talking about, but that was him paying tribute. But this just took it, you know, to another plateau.
And one little jewel I'll tell you guys also is that in this record, you know, what Pete Rock does, you talk about the progression of CL's lyrics. In Pete Rock's drums, no pattern repeats itself. So if you actually ever listen to the record, the drum pattern changes throughout the entire song. There's a progression of it, you know, in that way. And it's just one of those subtle things I love so much about that record.
I've listened to this record a million times, been fortunate to hear them perform it live a few times.
Yeah.
But today, the line that really just is sitting with me is "Hope a little black boy grows." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about grief and loss and everything that's happening with, you know, Black Lives Matters, and that's the hope, right? That Black children have a chance to grow and grow up, like that's that they have that opportunity. so much in that song, so many layers, and in expressing their grief, they gave us a way to help express our own family complications, our own grief, all of that in such a beautiful and incredible song. So thank you for bringing that back to us in this moment, J. Period.
Yeah, man.
Pleasure.
X, you closing out this round 2. What you got, brother?
So it's the perfect bridge, because we're talking about autobiography, and a big part of my life is spirituality. I'm a Christian. I'm a deacon, as you know, Fredara. Me and you go to the same church. We went to fam together, and now we go to the same church.
I just keep following you, X. I just keep.
You know what I mean? I'm just paving the way for you. That's what we do, from Florida all the way to Brooklyn. And you know, in hip hop, Christianity wasn't necessarily cool. Like Islam was cool, like 5%ers. But this particular group, who is a pillar of hip hop, this was a particular era of their career where we didn't know if they like fell off. Like they were struggling around 1989, and then they came back out with this song to remind you who they were, and they enlisted. We just talked about that. You know, They Reminisce Over You may be the best hip hop beat ever. This beat gives Pete Rock a run for his own money. This is Run DMC, Down with the King. Drop that joint, Raydar.
All right, which verse have you selected, X?
I want that DMC verse. I want that DMC.
You wanna be. Check it. I'm taking the tour. I'm wrecking the land. I keep it hardcore cause it's dope, man. These are the roughest, toughest words I ever wrote down. Not meant for a hole like a slow jam. Check it. Sucker MCs could never swing with D because of all the things that I bring with me. Only G.O.D. could be a king to me. And if the G.O.D. be in me, then a king I be. The microphone is granted when it's handed to me. I was planted on this planet and I'm planted MCs. The MC themes only seem to agree that I rock of the world and the society. Outrageous on the stages with a tuna verse. I give praises from these pages to the universe. My voice is raw, my lyrics is law. I keep it hardcore like you never saw you wanna be. You wanna be. You know you wanna be. You wanna be. You know you wanna be.
Listen,
Go, a friend of mine.
I need to say some MC rhymes. Like, there's so much going on in that song. So I mentioned that Run DMC was struggling at the time. Like, the album before this was Back from Hell, and a song called Pause that a lot of people don't remember. It's like Run DMC was trying to figure out how to transition. Like, New Jack Swing was happening in the late 80s into the 90s. And then here they come back in about 1993. They got their head shaved. They're like professing their love for Christ. So this was their resurrection. So they were saying like Down with the Kings, but like the Kings of rock, like the Kings of rap, Run DMC, but also saying they're down with the King, down with God. And I wanted you to play DMC's verse because he says, only G.O.D. can be a king to me. And if the G.O.D. be in me, then the king I be. And then that was another place where it was like, damn, finally Christianity gets to sound cool in hip hop. And then by none other than Run DMC making the comeback, man. And I've been talking about videos a lot because that was a big part of like, you know, how we identified with hip hop. Everybody was in this video. This is the first video I remember that just had a massive amount of cameos. Like everybody who was like anybody was anybody in hip hop was in this video. And on top of that, like they did it in this cold church, but it was just amazing, man, how they came back. Pete Rock once again. And then the fact that they enlisted Pete Rock and CL Smooth to help them come back, that they weren't too egotistical to recruit who was happening in hip hop at the time to update their sound, to me is just genius.
Yeah, and I think one other thing I'll say about this record is that it really shows kind of the generations in hip hop, and the whole record is about this first generation of artists coming back and being reintroduced to the new generation. And I think, you know, that's something that really rings true to me, because I think so much of hip hop is built on those foundations, and we've gotten away from that a little bit. So, you know, I always in my work try to bring back those artists and pair them with younger artists and show the connections in that way between the generations of hip hop.
Exactly.
That lineage is deep, and like you said, it's present on that song. You know what I mean? Like, and that was a moment we was like, "Oh, okay, Run DMC."
Exactly. It was like, oh, okay. Yeah, man, I ran out and got that joint. Oh my God.
Yeah, go ahead, Angie.
No, I was gonna ask you, X, you know, like you said, you talked about Christianity, kind of like Christianity and hip hop. Like, how have you balanced that over the years? Because I mean, hip hop has progressively, the messaging in it has progressively gotten a little more risque, I would say.
Right.
So like,
you know what? It showed me you can be yourself. Like you can still be you. So it's about like how you approach it and like how you reflect that back. Just like the Islams in hip hop, you know what I mean? Because you have some and they'll talk about like, yo, I don't eat pork though. So it'll be sprinkled in. And I think that's the beauty of Christianity. It's like, it's a lifestyle and it's decisions that you make every day, but you can still, you know, it's like you can be in the world, but not like of the world. So like we're out here living, and like they just help to make that connection for me. Like Christianity can look different for me than how like my parents and, you know, and the elders said Christianity needs to look like.
I love that.
And one of the other things that was huge about this song is this is at a point where the church is starting to like really turn its back on hip hop. Like they don't understand it. They don't want it. Like, you know, like, and so it starts to form a rift there. And so the fact that the articulation of what the relationship is between Christianity and hip hop comes from outside of the church. It doesn't come inside the church. Right. That's huge. And so that's part of what that record, intentionally or not, is really creating space for and pulling together. And one of the reasons, it's just another example of like a timeless record. I'm glad you shared your journey with it. But like, you know, I realized we don't really talk about that record enough now, all these years later. But it was a real cultural moment when it dropped. So thank you for that. Well, again, y'all killed round 2. Can't believe we're at round 3. Angie, you up top, you up next.
Okay, I'm back up.
Yeah.
All right. So this right here, Lauryn Hill is on it, but it's primarily Nas. If I Ruled the World, this is my number one because I feel like it represents, when we're talking life in 5, it represents where I'm at today. And I remember when I heard this as a kid, like how optimistic it sounded. Like the idea of just him, it's like he's dreaming on a record. And his world seems pretty cool. And Lauryn singing, you know, if I ruled the world, I free all my sons. And, you know, that's how I feel where I'm at today is like, you know, I just feel a sense of optimism, a sense of empowerment, a sense of, you know, ruling the world, but also ruling the world in a space where you also, like she said, I free all your sons, free all your people. Like, you know, whatever it is that I'm in a space of like wanting to build and build for others, because now I've kind of gone through so much. I've gone through all these different motions. I've gone through all these different experiences. And now like ruling the world is all about how you're going to serve other people and create for others. So if I Ruled the World gets my number 1.
Life, I wonder, will it take me under? I don't know. If I ruled the world, imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine.
I rule the world.
Still living for today, in these last days of times.
Walk right up to the sun, hand in hand. We'll walk right up to the sun. We won't land. We'll walk right up to the sun, hand in hand. We'll walk right up to the sun. We won't land.
Imagine smoking weed in the street without cops harassing. Imagine going to court with no trial. Lifestyle cruising blue Bahama waters. No welfare supporters. More conscious of the way we raise our daughters.
Watch his
Days are
daughters
short,
rap.
nights are cold.
Yes.
Feeling like life is over.
Yes.
These snakes strike like a cobra. The world's hot. My got knock. Evidently, it's elementary. They want us all gone eventually. Trooping out of state for a plate. Knowledge, if coke was cooked without the garbage, we'd all have the top dollars. Imagine everybody flashing, fashion, designer clothes, lacing your click up with diamond rolls. Your people's holding dough, no parole, no rubbers. Going raw, imagine law with no undercovers. Just some thoughts for the mind. I take a glimpse into time, watch the blimp read, the world is mine.
If I rule the world,
imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be if you could be mine, we both shine?
If I rule the world,
still living for today in these last.
Black diamonds and pearls. That's why I said that.
Black diamonds and pearls. And I gotta show you something, Angie. So
wow.
I don't know if you know about this. This is a mixtape I did with Miss Lauryn Hill.
Wow.
And there's some remixes on here I think you might want to hear, including of If I Ruled the World.
Yes.
I need that.
Yes, I got you.
That was such a real song, man. I used to play that song, and me and my friends used to be like, "I love her, baby."
Right. It just took it to another level, like bringing Lauryn in to just feature her, like her vocal ability and her range just added something to that song. That's what made the song a hit. Like, because he's spitting.
Yeah.
About the songs that broke through at the time. Like, Nas didn't have any hits before that song. Like, it was just like, remember that first album didn't go gold till years later. Illmatic didn't go gold till years later. So this is now album number 2. It was written. He was about to come out, and he led with this single. So he needed to find that person who can come over the top, get him that radio airplay, which you really had to have to go to the next level at that time. And the fact that he took a Curtis Blow song, If I Ruled the World, and then updated that joint to like 96.
Yep.
Jay, like,
again, it's the generations coming together. And, you know, Nas tells an interesting story about this record, which is that the Fugees used to open up for him on tour.
And they were both on Columbia. They were
both on Columbia. And the Fugees used to open up for him. By the time the score came out, which is this, it flipped. And he was now opening up for them.
Wow.
So he recruited Lauryn to get on the record because the Fugees had grown up and blown up in that time. Yeah.
And you know what?
That's amazing.
That makes sense because the score dropped early 1996. I think it was February 96. It was written, didn't come out till summer 96. So they hopped, they leapfrogged them, and he needed them. I love that camaraderie in hip hop. If you could be mine, like we both shine. Like, that's like he's saying that too.
Yeah, for sure.
And like you said, X, the crazy thing about that, like 96, I'm probably like 12 at that point. So like you said, that was on the radio. So like that's the amazing thing is like you're 12 or you're 13 and you're hearing, you know, again, Lauryn Hill, I loved her from, again, The Score and Ready or Not, which is also on my list. But, you know, it's just like you said, Lauryn Hill made me listen to the record because of her voice. And then because of the repetition of hearing the song, and you start to catch what Nas is saying.
Right.
It's literally like being a kid and you're speaking power into yourself. And not all of the concepts I understood then, but as I got older, like I really was seeing his vision. But it just sounded like such a great world that he painted that it made me think about, damn, what if I ruled the world? What does my world look like?
So he taught you to dream. Like,
exactly. It's like, it was beautiful. It's good. You need that for imagination.
Right.
Another thing that y'all keep bringing up that I love is how hip hop allows you to see yourself or imagine yourself in all kinds of incredible ways. And so, you know, and to all of you are having extraordinary careers and all of that in hip hop, and how it showed a mirror to you and allowed you to imagine yourself as a huge part of that. And so I love hearing that theme. All right, it's over to you, J.PERIOD. You see where we at, and so I know.
So, you know, I see a lot of amazing stuff in the chat. You know, people shouting out Outkast Liberation and Doom and a bunch of other stuff. I think all of those play a role in my story, but I think at this point, by round 3, we're at a different phase of my story. You know, part 1 is sort of me as a fan. Part 2 is me as a DJ. And part 3 is actually where I'm at now, which is as a producer and a creator of my own. So I'm going to cheat a little bit And I'm going to play a record that is the first record from my new album, which is coming out. The album is called Story to Tell. I
feel like we're getting a bit of an exclusive. That's not a cheat.
You are getting a little bit of an exclusive. So this is a record which actually kicks off my album. It features Dave Chappelle, Black Thought, and a new artist named Tiffany Goucher. But my album is actually a musical storybook. So I have Dave Chappelle in the spirit of the book and record sets I grew up on as the narrator of my musical storybook. And so this is the song that kicks it off. And really about sort of pushing through your doubts and your fears. In my own story, I think going from a fan to now being a producer, there's a lot of that you have to push through to get to the other side. And this song is kind of a reminder, especially important now that we're all stuck in our houses. And I think the need to escape through your mind and imagine and dream is really important. So Raydar, once you run my new record, let's go.
Hello, this is Dave Chappelle. Welcome to J.PERIOD presents A Story to Tell, a musical journey in 3 acts. When you hear this sound, turn the page. Please, tune your speakers for maximum bass response and enjoy the show.
My inspiration.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh man, I
A
was
Story to Tell.
Bro.
Yeah, my brother Joel went to see Dave Chappelle amidst the pandemic. I say he brave as hell, blaze the trail. Just don't take a major L. I'ma wait, save the date, save yourselves. Next thing you know, he brings his things, the yellow springs, and says to spread his wings has been the stuff of dreams. Oh well, time to pull another book from the shelves. Feels like he got a story to tell. This rhythm is taking me back.
You keep going back.
That right there is Tiffany Goucher with the voice of an angel.
No, it's time for a change, don't you?
And something has to change.
Losing time, gotta stay focused.
Because I'm losing time.
You won't get far if you don't stay open.
What if I take it too far?
Ooh,
215.
it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Don't let it get to you. It's all in your head.
I can feel he got a story to tell.
I think we're good right there.
Set yourself.
So
Hey, bro.
yeah,
Playing fair, man.
That was beautiful.
Nice.
Playing fair, bro.
Nice.
I think there's so many directions that this conversation could have gone, but I think if I'm really representing my story where I'm at right now, that is an incredibly important part of my story.
Love that.
As a creator, and I had to recruit some of the greatest storytellers on the map. Dave Chappelle, Black Thought. We are going to be announcing actually tomorrow, so I will give the exclusive.
Hey.
That Story to Tell Chapter 1 is coming out on April 30th. Also features Masego, Jamel Hill, Bobito. Also features Joel Ortiz and a very special appearance from Lin-Manuel Miranda. So you heard it here.
You better come through.
Yes.
J.PERIOD.
So at the Kennedy Center, Life in 5. So exclusive.
Congrats.
You throwing haymakers, man.
For real.
That's the only way to do it. Like the source says, put your best cut first.
Hey,
So-
Jay, tell us, Jay, because I know like me and you are like legit friends. Like, can you like give us a snippet of like how this project came together? Because this has been a labor of love for you for a bunch of years, man.
Yeah, this is honestly about 5 years in the making. It really started with me going to Jazzy Jeff playlist retreat where he gathers all these creatives together.
Wow.
And, he was the one who first one who encouraged me to make an album of my own. He said, the way you put things together, I can't wait to hear what you put together as an album. And it became this thing where if I sit alone in a room, I'll make my best approximation of Mobb Deep beats. But, connecting with other artists, it really changed the energy of what I was making. And it became this collaborative effort. And so song by song, we started making them. And I would hold them up against the litmus test of these, legends that I was playing them for, until I felt like they were ready. And, it just so happened that the elements I had built told my story in a certain kind of way. So that's what the album is all about. It's really about the power of stories, like we're talking about here tonight, but in musical form. So, I encourage everybody to go check it out. And I'm excited for it.
Oh, we will. That was beautiful.
Jay, when does it drop again?
April 30th is chapter 1, and then we're going to be rolling out chapter 2 and chapter 3 over the next couple months, which will culminate in an actual storybook, like an actual book and record set.
Nice.
Inspired by, these joints from my
classic.
That's killer.
Bro,
yes,
that's amazing.
Yes.
Classic.
We're not playing around.
You're really not, dude. You're really not. Like, I got to tell y'all, and I mean this, and I've told Jay this many times. So I'm gonna let y'all in on something. I was a little annoying in the process of prepping for this because I kept changing up my list, and I kept changing up my list, and then I sent the list back out, and I'm like, nah. Then I talked to my brother Hutch, then I changed the list again because I'm like, yo, I was struggling with it because it's so hard to whittle this down into 5 songs, right? And then I didn't want to pick the 5 from the last time I did it. But I blame you, Jay, and I really mean this. I blame you because you made the best mixtape in history, which is the Best of Abstract, Volume 1. That's the best mixtape I've ever heard. You're a curator's curator, bro. So when we're here curating for an event, I'm like, yo, Jay is up here. I did this before. I'm not picking the 5 songs I picked before. I was just bouncing around, man, because I couldn't come weak. Shout out to you, bro. Thank you for what you do. It's important.
I appreciate that,
the culture, brother.
Yeah.
It is, man.
Indeed.
On that note, it ain't nothing else to do but close out round 3. So X, that means you are up next.
I just talked about Jay. Ange and I just met to do this event, but Ange has been obviously representing for the ladies, but it's another woman that I absolutely have to speak about. Well, actually 2 women. One is my mother, because she's a strong Black woman. And I picked this next song because she represents for women and being strong. This song speaks of domestic violence, and I have permission, y'all. So we talk about this so we don't put it in the back rooms like a lot of us Black people tend to do. But I've witnessed domestic violence growing up, and my mom had the strength to escape the situation with me and my brother at a time when we were 8, 9 years old. So she had to break away from an abusive marriage, leave that with 2 kids, going from a 2-parent, 2-income household to a single parent household with 2 very active kids in band and all manner of sports and activities. So when this song came out, it especially spoke to me because Fredara, you really know what I'm talking about. This is universal, unfortunately, but in Florida, misogyny growing up, calling women hoes, and all of that stuff is a real problem. And I got to say, when you grow up around it, you don't always think about it. It doesn't always register, right? So when this song came out, it just changed everything in terms of how we speak about it. And then the song's just a banger. It won a Grammy for best rap song. Raydar, drop this. This is UNITY, Queen Latifah. There's horns. There's some horns for you. First.
Who you calling a bitch?
And not for nothing, the horns on this mix very well with the horns from Reminisce.
Yes. Yes. Oh, a whole baby go. You gotta let them know.
Instinct leads me to another flow. Every time I hear a brother call a girl a bitch or a hoe, trying to make a sister feel low, all of that got to go. Now everybody knows there's exceptions to this rule. I don't be getting mad when we playing it's cool, but don't you be calling me out my name. I bring rap to those who disrespect me like a dame. That's why I'm talking. One day I was walking down the block, I had my cut off shorts on, right? Cause it was crazy hot. I walked past these dudes when they passed me. One of them felt my booty, he was nasty. I turned around red, somebody was catching a rat. Then the little one said,
yeah, me, bitch.
And laughed. Since he was with his boys, he
That's
tried
Vinny
to break
from Naughty by Nature.
I pushed him dead in his eyes and said, who you calling a bitch?
Yes, sir.
You gotta let him know. You right, that's the one. Here we go. You gotta let him know. You ain't a bitch, you're a hoe. Here we go. You gotta let him know. You right, that's the one. Here we go. You gotta let him know. You ain't a bitch, you're a hoe.
Listen, man. The thing is, it's me and my man's, and he's on here watching now. What up, Kyle Will? He represents Jersey, Newark Brick City, Flavor Unit, Naughty by Nature, all of them in the crew.
Oh, yes.
Kai's a producer on The Get Up. and we talk about putting the medicine, like the medicine in the candy. And that's what Queen La did. Like, she had a real strong message, but it wasn't corny. It wasn't preachy. Like, for example, when she said, hey, there's exceptions to this rule. When we playing, don't be getting mad. It's cool. You know what I mean? And then in the second verse, she talks about the domestic violence situation. A man don't love you if he hits you. And then in the last verse, she's talking about girls around the way trying to be hard rocks and getting like $1.50, and like, is all that worth it? So it just works on so many levels. And just from a cultural standpoint, Living Single, great show. They premiered this video right after a Living Single episode.
Oh, wow.
That's the power of marketing, man, when you have that kind of a platform. So this is, to me, when Queen Latifah's career went on a whole nother level. Now, like, Oscar nominee and Emmys to her name and all of that, starring in shows still to this day, The Equalizer on Sunday nights, like beating people up. Like, that's how dope hip hop is. It's all about evolution, but you got to start with representing yourself and what you're about first. Then you can branch out and do other things. But this record just speaks to me on a whole lot of levels.
You know, when this came out, there's obviously a lot of misogyny in hip hop. And I used to, in my DJ sets, do my own little commentary, because I would play Apache right before this.
Part of the flavor unit.
Yeah, and it would be Apache through the chorus, I Need a Gangsta. And then at the end of the chorus would be La would come in, who you calling up? And it would go right. So it was like all a response between the two of them, as if to say, like, okay, like, it's out there in hip hop, but we have a response for it as well. And so that makes, like, I used to get ooh, like, whenever I would drop that record. So,
and it's that dichotomy, because they work together, and like Apache did a lot of writing with and for Latifah. It's a secret to see if you don't know. Like, she did use some writers from time to time in her career, and one of those writers was Apache, a part of the flavor unit. And so the fact that she can be supportive of his story, talking about like Gangsta Bitch, which is a great record.
Yeah, produced by Q-Tip.
Right, produced by Q-Tip. You know what I mean? Right, it's on that Best of Abstract Volume 1. And then to be able to still like have her side of it is just genius, man.
I also think people don't give Queen Latifah the props she deserves in terms of music business and just the entertainment business in general. I don't think people, like, the way we celebrate Puff Daddy and the way we celebrate Russell Simmons, like, you're talking Hollywood, and where she's not just acting, producing. Like, she's still to this day green lights a lot of projects that otherwise, and funds projects that wouldn't be funded. I remember seeing her. She put together a tour. It was like her, Erykah Badu, and Jill Scott. When she had, like, Meriwether. I always mixed up between Sweetwater, Sugarwater. Yeah, and that was something that she put together. I remember they told that story of how, like, you know, she had the sponsorship because she has all the big sponsors, the Doves and all that stuff. So she basically took that sponsorship, had them sponsor the tour, and did a tour with those women, you know, celebrating musically. I mean, Queen Latifah, even the people she managed, like, I saw something about artists that she was managing, you know, and again, creating a Living Single. Like, people don't give her enough, I think, props and respect, and put her in the conversation. When you talk the music business, when you talk the entertainment business, she goes beyond artistry. She is a business woman, and I think that she should, you know, that conversation needs to be had more, especially when we uphold these icons, because she also somebody you don't see a bunch of controversy around either.
That's right.
All the other men, you can always see, like, all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And she knows how to move.
Yeah, she, like, knows how to move, and you got to respect it. But it's almost like people don't really study the business side of Queen Latifah, and I fully respect it, appreciate it.
1000%.
And I love you and ITY. I remember singing that too as a kid. Who you calling up? You know,
right? How hard is that to just come in with that in the beginning, though? Go on. Like,
she wasn't.
All right, we got
man.
We got everybody up, and everybody's gonna stay up because we want to hear you talk about what would have been your fourth and fifth round.
Speed round.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about why you chose the other two songs that we didn't get a chance to hear.
Okay, I guess we'll start with me. So my but I call it the first one, or number 5 for me, was Fuji's, of course, Ready or Not. And Ready or Not just described, I feel like, how I kicked off my life. Like, I felt like it was like, ready or not, here I come. I'm out here. You can't hide. You know, and Lauryn Hill singing on there was amazing. And then one of the things I loved about the Fugees, and especially Lauryn Hill for me, was she was the only woman with the guys, but she spit better than both the guys.
Put together.
And I think when you're a woman in these industries, you're always kind of compared to either other women, or it's like, this is a good woman MC. No one calls men male MCs. Like, the women, you become a woman MC, a female MC. No one says, here's male MC, you know, Rakim. No one says that, but with the women, it was always like singled out. And so, like, I used to always tell myself, in radio, I don't just want to be a good woman radio personality. I want to be a good radio personality, period. Like, a lot of times that meant that you had to not just be good for a girl, you had to be good, period. You had to be better than the guys. And I definitely proved that 10 times over. So Ready or Not was my first one. And then number 4 or number 2 for me was Lost Ones, Lauryn Hill as well. Great way to kick off the Miseducation. But like, one of my favorite parts is just how you gonna win when you ain't right within. And Lost Ones really, to me, is like a story about the fact that not everybody's gonna make it along your journey. Like, some people aren't gonna cut it with you. And you know, sometimes you're gonna have some lost ones in life for whatever reason. But you know, it's like, for anybody that kind of like played her, it was just like, you know, well, I know why Clef was probably who she was talking to specifically, but we all kind of had that. Everybody got that lost one, that was either sleeping on you or was playing you or whatever. And it's like, you know, she really set the tone with that. So.
And I love how she just opened the album with that joint, and at the front, I was literally
like, you in the face, like, it's
right. And I went out and bought this album. I was at Fam, and I went out and bought this album the day it dropped. Like, I was waiting for like so many people, right?
Yeah.
Put that joint in the car, like, opened the CD. And remember, CDs had that sticker on the top.
Yeah.
And you have your own technique for how you open that joint. Got in the car, ripped that joint open, put it in, and of course, the skit kicks it off. And then she just comes in with, "It's funny how money changes situation." Like,
miscommunication lead to complication.
And it's like punt, like the way the beat is. It's just like you just throwing blows, like
she just going in,
right? Body work.
Yeah. So I mean, Lost Ones is definitely a special one for me.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
JP, you got next?
I guess I'm up. All right. Well, we're gonna do show and tell. So my fourth.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah, man.
A children's story. I think probably the greatest example of hip hop storytelling. Maybe next to Biggie's Story to Tell, but definitely the first and really like the one that stands as the benchmark of hip hop storytelling. And then my second comes from this little ditty, which I had a little something to do with, and that is I Wrote My Way Out. And the one that I actually put is a special remix that I did with Nas, Black Thought, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, which for me personally, each of those people is incredibly important in my own trajectory. I mean, Nas was the first concert I went to, and I think my first favorite. Black Thought is somebody who I've had the great fortune to DJ for over the last 10 years, and really has gone up every year in the rankings.
Oh, no doubt.
As one of the greatest, if not the greatest MC of all time. And shout out to Lin-Manuel Miranda for really sort of redefining again hip hop and storytelling. You know, what he did on Hamilton depended on hip hop's ability. And he said this publicly, depended on hip hop's ability to tell that story, and told it in a way that allowed him to layer in all these subtle references that made it relevant to heads and also made it accessible for the whole world. So that's my fifth and final Wrote My Way Out.
Yo, you know, with Hamilton, I remember, you know, because the hype was crazy, like around the world, but especially in New York. If you lived in New York City, y'all, like for those of y'all who don't live in New York City, I don't know if I've ever heard Fredara J anything have this kind of hype. And then when I heard it was like basically all rapped, I was skeptical as a hip hop head. I'm like, is this gonna be corny? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times they get that stuff way wrong. And then I was able to go see Hamilton. They took care of me, and I went. And I remember I was in there like bobbing my head, like this like some like the flows are right, like the references. And I remember tapping my mans who was there with me, and I was like, yo, 90% of this audience, probably 99%, don't actually know what's going on with these references. You know what the hell this is.
19, my mind is over there.
Right, exactly. They don't get those Mobb Deep references and all of that. But it's so genius. It works on all those levels.
Yeah.
And they can appreciate it too. That's the beauty of hip hop, man.
So I can tell you just a quick story. When I was called in for the Hamilton mixtape originally was before Hamilton blew up. And the original idea was to take the cast recordings and put them over hip hop beats. So I actually have a demo where I took the 10 dual commandments and put 10 crack commandments. And that is kind of how I won, the gigs, so to speak, by making it. And obviously by the time it came back around, it had blown up to a whole other level. But that's where it began, was, really trying to sort of show the hip hop community that it was legit, which clearly it was.
Man.
Wow.
X, what you
took
got?
it upon yourself?
Let's say that again, Raydar.
Oh, it said Jay, you took it upon yourself to make that mix?
Yes, I did. I've never actually released that. There was talk of that coming out with the Hamil drops. But that was the original idea for the Hamilton mixtape. The original name for Hamilton the play was actually the Hamilton mixtape. And it became a mixtape by way of trying to market and promote it to the hip hop community. And then when it came back around and Hamilton had blown up, Roots got involved, and Questlove was the one who kind of asked me to work on it. And, it was pretty amazing. The night that I went to meet up with him about it, he goes on his phone and dials Lin-Manuel Miranda on FaceTime and hands me the phone. He's like, you guys go figure it out. And I was like,
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So literally that night from 4 p.m. until 4 a.m. at Electric Lady, the blueprint was laid for the Hamilton mixtape. And, by the following day, I'd submitted it, and they were like, new plan. This is the plan. And, that's the result.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. I just wanted to ask that because I have students watching, and that's a note for all of y'all. Self-motivation, kick it in gear.
Amazing.
You never know where it can turn into.
Indeed.
So
I'm just loving this thread of collaboration that's coming through, and both the songs that y'all are picking and how y'all actually live your lives. I really, really love that.
That's what Life in 5 is all about, man. Angie Ange, you talked about, they don't say male MC Rakim. Jay, you talked about, Black Thought going up that list, but male MC Rakim is always going to be on that list for me. And I remember this record that's number 4 on my list. I got this compilation like vinyl, me and my brother, and it had some I remember Run DMC Tougher Than Leather was on it. MC Shan the Bridge was on it. And this record, Eric B. is President, was on it. And the way this dude just was rapping, I was like, okay, rap ain't the same now. Like, this dude, and y'all, and this also reflects me, like, y'all see, I cannot help myself. Like I'm like possessed by the hip hop Holy Spirit, because when these records come on, I can't help myself from like saying these lyrics. And when this dude just comes in, I came in the door. I said it before. I never let the mic magnetize me no more, but it's fighting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line. Produced by Marley Marl. That's just, to me, a great record. It gets me every time. DJ Raydar, I know y'all know this. Y'all throw that joint on at any hip hop event, and everybody in the building is saying every single word, dancing. But I just knew hip hop was different. Like, it had taken a step up. Like, much respect to Melly Mel. We played that record early, but just the cadences and the way words were being put together just had advanced with that record. So that was my number 4. And my number 5, gotta represent for the South, being from Florida. And see, somebody put Liberation in the chat, but for me, this is when I knew this group was here to stay. This is when I knew they were for real, and like real lyricists. They had this first album, Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music. I love the record Players Ball. They had a couple other like singles out, But when I heard this album cut, video came later, then I knew they were here to stay. And I was riding out, we call it riding out. Like, so we were riding around Daytona, Beachside, riding around. We just had this album going. And then this song, Get Up, Get Out came on. And Goody Mob. And that's also when I heard CeeLo for the first time. He just opens up the song. I don't recall ever graduating at all. Sometimes I feel like it's just a disappointment to y'all. Every day I just lay around. And it's just talking about like, yo, trying to get motivated. Sometimes we F up. Sometimes we just got it. And just the fact that they were so vulnerable. Because to me, that showed a level of vulnerability and accountability. Like they were taking accountability for their own lack of motivation. Like the song ain't about all the pressures that lead us to being this way, right? That you can't ignore that stuff. But they're not talking about that. They're saying what I didn't do. You know what I mean? And then when Dre came in and he just said like, never smelled the aroma of diploma, but I write the deep ass rhyme. So let me take away. I was like, okay, these dudes legit, they here to stay. So I just love the way that they frame that. You need to get up, get out and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass by. You need to get up, get out and get something. Don't spend all your time trying to get high. And they were talking about smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? They were talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like all day, every day. They talking about that on the album, but they showing the other side of it. So Get Up, Get Out featuring Goody Mob from Southern Playalistic, Cadillac Music, Outkast has to be on the list.
Yeah. So go ahead. I just was going to say that also sparked that famous moment, which I see someone shout out in the chat. Sal got something to say. You know, that before that, it was really, you know, New York and LA, to some extent Chicago. And, you know, what was coming out of the South wasn't necessarily in that same vein. You know, Outkast really credit Rakim as one of their favorite MCs. Again. And drawing that connection as well. And then, you know, as far as the God MC goes, I mean, you know, an interesting story that he told me, I did a show with Rakim for 2 years. And part of it, I sat down and interviewed him, and it gets woven into the show. But, you know, Eric B. for President, when he went to record that with Marley Marl, he's sitting on the couch in Marley's studio, and Marley was like, you know, okay, we're ready to record. You want to stand up? And Rakim was like, no, I'm good. I'm sitting down. And he's like, I'm sure you don't want to stand up. And, you know, that was because the energy of an MC before that was very sort of like aggressive. Exactly. And he recruits MC Shan to come in and try and talk Rakim into standing up. Rakim is like, no, I'm good. So he records the record sitting down. And 3 months later, Marley Marl hears a record on the radio and he says, I get it now. Because the whole energy of Rakim was like, I'm going to sit down and let me just talk to you for a minute. Right. And that was a transformative moment for hip hop where it was like, I'm just going to, you know, he changed everything after Rakim. And one last little point, Rakim is inspired. The cadences of his rhymes are inspired by John Coltrane. So everyone in his family was a jazz musician. And he said that, you know, he heard before him, it was like, you know, I said a hip hop, you know, it was like very much like that. And then Rakim comes in and he's drawing rhyme patterns off of the way Coltrane would
fill up the spaces.
Yes, exactly. And even like to where he would plan his breaths out. He would plan the pauses out like a saxophone player does. And all of that redefined the game. And you know, the God MC is, you know, among all, he is the one.
I agree.
That was a beautiful way to kind of close out this part of our conversation. And hip hop is a Black art form, and in Black music, you have call and response. So we are excited to hear from our audience and the songs that y'all have put in the chat. Raydar, you got us. What you got on deck from the chat, from the audience for us?
I want to kick it off with something that was requested a lot and came up in the chat. And this is Outkast, Liberation.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between love and hate. You see, came way too late, but baby, I'm on it.
Let's go out to Kevin Dada.
There's a fine line between love and hate. You see, came way too late, but baby, I'm on it.
Yes.
Which is where I was when this album started.
Yeah, me too. A year ahead of you.
That's liberation, and baby, I want it. Can't worry about what another nigga think. Now that's liberation.
liberation, and baby, I want it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it over. Many times I sit back and contemplate, fresh off the thing when I'm telling my story. My relationship with my folks is give and take, and I done took so much, not giving my glory.
I want to make a real quick plug. I have it right here. This is a book called Chronicling Sanconia that just came out this year by Regina Bradley. Chronicling Sanconia, the rise of the hip hop South. So you see the artwork of Outkast on the cover. Brilliant book, all talking about, you know, just what Outkast meant, obviously to hip hop, but what it meant to so much of how we think about the Black Southern experience. So shout out to her.
And I gotta say, Liberation is actually the song I end every single DJ set with when I used to DJ multiple nights a week. Just the feeling of that record is second to none. And I always wanted to close out on that record just because of the feeling of that record.
Powerful.
Absolutely. This next one is for Alfredo Lagos and Katrina Carter. This is Camp Low, Lucchini.
Woo!
This is it, what? Lucchini pouring from the sky, let's get rich, what? The cheeky finds the sugar dimes, can't quit, what? Now pop the cork and Stina Vega and get lit, what? Introducing Phantom of the Dark, walk through my heaven with levitation from reefers, drenching defense and E7, showboating with Rugers, flash vines, Belafonte Jigger. Let's skate for what this worth as we confiscate your figures.
Casanova Brown, levitating Jiggy and Ashiki's the Lahada car, 54, chasing diamond runners headed icebound. The big chiller diamond convention, Harlem Buck strut, freezing world heights, Hollywood, Madam Butterfly. Let me in your house, a pleasure. From the knuckle swatch, shadow boxes catching black eye blue.
I play the thief, what? Sensations at the Monte Gras, screaming Chiba. Fulfilling pleasures in my castles, blow the smoke out. The Garza Vega substitutes when the Dutch is gone. The load don't stop, give me shots. The season sauteers, souffleurs for swerving no corners. We magnets to moolah, living with Charlie's Angels on us. No smiling when sliding. That gets you caught up in the octa or dead for moving. It's just like that as we proceed.
Saturday night special, better take it light. You Jaja, you're a Capitan. Quest to the coast, the Key Largo, wire the chain gang. Keep your ears out for our ears. Sip the fountain blue, house of bamboo, paradise.
This is it, what? Lucchini pouring from the sky, let's get rich, what? The cheeky vines and sugar dimes, can't quit, what? Now pop the cork and Stina Vega and get lit, what? This is it, what? This is it, what? Genie pouring from the sky, let's get rich, what? The cheeky vines and sugar dimes, can't quit, what? Now pop the cork and Stina Vega and get lit, what?
That's just a happy record. Like
that's one of the all-time best beats. My friend April Rain, that is her favorite all-time record, and just for her, I did an Outkast mixtape where I took So Fresh and So Clean, put it over Lucchini.
Come on,
Lord
man.
have mercy. When I tell you those two things go so nicely together,
Ooh.
that joint is on my Bandcamp if you look out for it. But yeah, that is one of the best beats of all time. No doubt.
I agree. It was just celebratory. They talking about what I call the Lux life. You know what I mean? They talk about the finer things in life. They had their own style, but I love how they went all in though. And when I say own style of like lyricism and flow, but they really went in deep with like the 70s and really representing that with Uptown Saturday Night and the trilogy of movies with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. You know, Let's Do It Again, like Uptown Saturday Night. I just love Camp Low. I used to rap back in the day. You know, when you rap, you always rap, right? But I had a group. We performed at FAM after around New York City. But me and my homie, we actually got to open for Camp Low. Woo. And they were like, yo, y'all are dope. We were talking about doing a song together. And then
wow.
It's a nice little fun fact for y'all.
And as great as Lucchini is, and it is, do yourself a favor and listen to the song that they sampled, Adventures in the Land of Music by Dynasty. That song is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful record. So you get 2 for 1 out of that. You get the Camp Low song and you get the original. Just
You know, one of my favorite things when I was a kid was to turn the records over and look at the samples. And that's actually how I discovered jazz music and a lot of soul.
Same.
Over hip hop records. So like there's a tradition that's buried in a lot of these records because they're extracting certain things from the past and giving them new life. And that's what hip hop does. So.
And the thing to know, y'all, Camp Lo still puts out fire albums. Go find an album, find it on Spotify. It's called Ragtime High Times. That's just from 2015. The album is literally a continuation of Let's Do It Again, Uptown Saturday Night. Ski Beats does the beat, so they're still working with the same producer.
Yeah,
and they got a collaborative group with Pete Rock called 80 Blocks from Tiffany's. Those albums are dope. You can find them all there, so I highly recommend.
I saw someone in the chat saying that Jay-Z got his flow from Camp Lo. You know, Ski Beats used to produce for a group called Original Flavor. Actually, Jay-Z's first ever appearance by way of Jazzo. So those guys were very familiar to each other.
That's exactly right.
What you got, Raydar?
This next one goes to Andrea Sheeran. This is I Get Around, Tupac.
Oh.
Oh yeah. I get around. Still clown with the underground when we come around. Stronger than ever. Back to get wrecked. All respect to those who break their neck to keep their hopes in check. Cause though they sweat a brother majorly. And I don't know why your girl keep paging me. She tell me that she needs me. Cries when she leaves me. And every time she sees me, she squeeze me. Ladies, take it easy. Hate to sound sleazy, but tease me. I don't want it if it's that easy. Hey, yo, pussy, baby, got a problem saying bye-bye. Just another hazard of a fly guy. Your ass wide don't matter. My pockets got fatter. Now everybody's looking for the ladder. And ain't no need in being greedy. If you wanna see me, try to keep a number, baby, when you need me. And I'll be there in a jiffy. Don't be picky, just be happy with this quickie. But when you learn, you can't time it down, baby, dog. Check it out. I get around. What you mean you don't know? Check it.
Gotta get that Tupac.
Right there.
The underground just don't stop for hoes. I get around. Still down with the underground clouds. Around they go. I get around. Yeah. Hey yo, shot. Let them all.
Yo, Raydar, you got me digging in my crates over here, man. I had to read all the records.
Yes.
There you go.
Stun on them.
Vinyl
forever.
Man.
All the artifacts.
Love it.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing.
Man, such a great record. I love how he featured Digital Underground on that record because that's where he came from. Like that was his roots. So I love to see him like giving back. And then they come through with the fire verses too. They complement the song so well. I mean, one of the most famous lines, like, you know, like trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, a dime and a nickel. Like just those little things.
That's Money B right there.
Yeah, man.
Digital Underground, actually, their first album is easily one of my top 10 all time. I know it backwards and forwards. Shock G, who was also Humpty Hump, was not only an incredible MC, 2 MCs actually.
Right.
Or 3 if you count MC Blowfish.
Right.
But he also did the artwork for that album, which
I didn't know that.
Don't know.
I did not know that.
All the cartoons on the inside of that Shock G drew himself.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yes, and in fact, there's a story, speaking of Rakim, where backstage in '89, right before Digital Underground, really came out, he goes backstage and he presents this picture to Rakim. It's a drawing he's done of Rakim standing on a cement block, and all the other MCs are underneath it. So when I went to Rakim's home studio, that was on the wall, and he didn't even realize who the guy was.
Oh, he didn't realize that was Shock G?
No, not when he got it. Later on, people
right
who it was, but Shock didn't know that this was in Rakim's studio.
Oh, wow.
I told him. So, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so, indeed.
What a great record.
So, what else we got, Raydar?
Yeah.
This one goes out to Michi. This is, well, I'll just play it.
Oh, the homie. Hey, guys, forever.
Hey, Bonita, glad to meet ya. For the kind of stunning you miss, I must beseech ya. Hey, being with you is a top priority. Ain't no need to question the authority. Chairman of the board, the chief of affections. You got minds to sway in your direction. Hey, you're like a hip hop song, you know. Bonita Applebum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebum, I said you gotta.
Hey, Raydar, you got the Hootie remix?
I was just about to ask that.
Oh, I didn't even know you wanted me to. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yo, flip that remix.
Just give me 2 seconds of it.
But he's finding that. Let me tell y'all this.
Oh, go ahead.
So the Hootie remix was not available on streaming anywhere because a lot of these deals were done before like streaming came out. So I actually, in working at Spotify, being the head of music editorial at the time, I hit up Sony Legacy, who handles like the catalog stuff. And I was like, you got to put this EP out that has the Hootie remix on it and the jazz remix on it.
Mm-hmm.
So me having that conversation, they just got they had the rights. They just hadn't done it. They hadn't gone back and did it, and they put it up. So you can hear that on streaming now because of that conversation.
Yeah, and one other note, just to tie it to what Angie was talking about with Miss Lauryn Hill, is the drums from Bonita end up as the drums in Killing Me Softly.
That's right.
Yep. As another way of kind of connecting those generations, because the Boogies are heavily inspired by A Tribe Called Quest.
That's right. Go ahead.
And the remix, of course, has the Isley Brothers sample.
Come on.
And Biggie used in Big Pop.
Bonita Applebum, remember way back woo, when you used to play your knickers and your pigtail too. I used to be on it like a fly. Back in the days, Bonita was a hit. I flirted and I flirted till there was no end. But you kicked the diabolical and said we was friends. Honey, you was funny, but I'm tired of that. It's 3 years later, I got a new rap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raydar.
Taste of it.
Yeah, can't play one without playing the other. I always play things back to back.
It's like scenario remix.
Right.
You have to play it.
Indeed.
I just want to say shout out to Michi from Brooklyn who requested that song, and
Brooklyn
in the building. And Angie, I'm just thinking about you working in radio, and this feels very radio like back, when people call into the radio station, get their song played and all of that.
Heck yeah. I mean, a lot of these songs are songs I was listening to on the radio, especially Bonita. So yeah, definitely feels very request your favorite song now.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, Raydar, I got a question because we represented a lot of different areas in the country, but we haven't represented for the West Coast, which is actually where I'm from originally.
I didn't know that, Jay.
Oh yes, yeah. I grew up in the West, but always wanted to be closer to New York hip hop.
Same.
Made my life out here, but I can't deny my West Coast roots. When I started DJing in New York, I had the illest West Coast set, and no one knew how. But it was because I was that was one of my secret weapons in the early days of DJing.
That's
very dope. Well, we can go to the West Coast because this was requested by someone in the chat. Hold on, let me make sure I got your name so I can properly credit you. Paul Shaw.
My best friend in the whole wide world.
Yeah, you selected Just Like Compton, DJ Quick.
Woo! Finally out the motherfucking CPT.
My brother loves
shit. No longer just the underground hit right now. Things. A local nigga made good and made a name off of making takes for niggas in the hood. And now let me tell a little story about the places that I've been to and the shit that I've been through, like fighting and shootouts and banging and shit. All because a nigga made a hit. Check it. 1991, it was double or nothing that a nigga would hit. Then we broke out with the funky shit about bitches and niggas and getting drunk and off that bud. I was doing the shit they hadn't heard of. But foolish was I to think that it wasn't no other cities like this, and they didn't like this. That Compton was the home of a foot in your ass. Well, you got blast, and now that's just a thing of the past. Let me tell you our first hand. We did a show up in Oakland and niggas was kicking up the sand. To them, banging ain't nothing new and slanging ain't nothing new. And for every nigga we done shot, they done shot too. Straight doing low since the 60s, before I was born. Families of young niggas mourn. So I'm just letting you know that if you plan to take a trip to the Bay, keep your hand on your clip because Oakland.
It's just like Compton.
Yeah, I'm telling y'all Oakland.
Didn't see my brother swing. I knew it. My brother is the biggest DJ Quick fan. Back in the day, not back in the day, but earlier in my career, I worked at Universal Motown and Republic. And for some reason, I came around the corner one day and DJ Quick was just standing right there. So I had to just hit my brother up and go up to Quick. And I was just like, my brother absolutely loves you, loves your beats, loves your rhymes, loves your songs. So I had to tell him, shout out to my big bro Hutch. But you got
Quick was one of my favorites growing up. Actually, every night that I ever had in high school ended on the ride home with DJ Quick Tonight, which is one of my favorite songs. You ever want to do yourself a favor, drive on the highway at 1 a.m. playing DJ Quick Tonight. You will not be sorry.
You might get a ticket.
Great record.
So I'm gonna play this one. This one is for Kenyatta Rosier. I hope I'm saying that right. And the clue.
That's FAMU again. I just want y'all to know FAMU is all
come on, rappers.
That's all I'm saying.
On my speakers, we got.
Hey, yeah, I want to shoot, baby, shoot.
Yo.
How you doing, baby? No, not you. You, the bow-legged one.
I gotta let the monologue play too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got it. They come in hard.
That sounds sexy. Here I go again, girls. What's my weakness? Okay, then chillin', minding my business. You saw I looked around and I couldn't believe this. I swear, I stand, my niece, my witness. The brother had it going on with something kinda wicked. Had to kick it. I'm not shy, so I asked for the digits. I hope no, that don't make me see what I want. Slip, slide to it swiftly. Felt it in my hips, so I dip back to my bag of tricks. Then I flip for a tip, made me wanna do tricks on them, lick them like a lollipop should be lit. Came to my senses and I chill for a bit. Don't know how you do the voodoo that you do so well. That's a spell, hell makes me wanna shoot.
Pep comes in hard on this joint though. She comes in hard with that.
Raydar's got me digging through the crates over here.
Absolutely.
You know what? That's another record where a group that had been around for a long time and hip hop had evolved had came back strong to show their relevance. This was their first single from that album, Very Necessary. Mm-hmm. And they came back strong with this joint. What a Man is also on that album too. Stretch is in the video. Tupac is in that video as well. And it just, to me, this was another example of women empowerment because these ladies are basically we spitting game to the men on this joint, which I just love, man. That's just that strength that it showed. And they were just flowing on that record.
And that whole, the name of the song, Shoop, and the way it appears vocally, harmonically in that song takes us straight back to doo-wop, which takes us right back to the first song we played tonight, doo-wop That Thing, Lauryn Hill. So it's kind of a cool full circle moment from Andy's first pick to where we are with Salt and Pepper.
Yes, come on, Fredara with the connections.
Hey, listen, I have to earn these checks somehow.
That's a Juilliard professor. Don't sleep. Ethnomusicologist. Most people don't even know what that is.
Right.
There we go. So the real question, Raydar, is how do you end such an amazing discussion that's covered so much ground? What record could you possibly play?
Right.
To close it out.
Ooh. It was just so great to be with all y'all today and just to experience this with all the people in the chat with their great suggestions. It just felt so good to spend this day with you. This is the only way I could think of ending it.
Break them.
One of the greatest records in music history.
Woo!
Schubert's top 10 most underrated MC of all time.
Shout out to Isley.
Just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God. I don't know, but today seems kinda odd. No barking from the dog, no small. And mama cooked the breakfast with no hog. I got my grub on, but didn't dig out. Finally got a call from a girl I wanna dig out. Hooked it up for later as I hit the dough. Thinking, will I live the 24th? I gotta go, cause I got me a drop top. And if I hit the switch, I can make the ass drop. Had to stop at a red light, looking in my mirror, not a jacker in sight, and everything is alright. I got a beat from Kim, and she can fuck all night. Called up the homies and I'm asking y'all, which part are y'all playing basketball? Get me on the court and I'm troubled. Last week fucked around and got a triple double. Freaking niggas every way like MJ. I can't believe today was a good day.
2 in the morning, got the fat burger.
We're gonna do a 2 for 1 for Simone.
Oh my! Yeah, Ahmad can rap, man.
Nicely done.
Lyric.
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was just a little nigga, I looked up to my bigger bro, begged if I could kick it. So when he went out with girls, I could go tagging along, nagging. If she had a sis, maybe could mac a baby hood rat. Y'all remember way back then when it was 1985, all the way live. I think I was about 10. One of those happy little niggas singing the blues that be always trying to bag with the shag and karate shit. Saying, yo, mama black, his mama this, his mama that. Then he get mad and wanna scrap. We stay mad about 10 minutes, then it's like on a bite to play hide and go get it with the younger by the bungalows, then switch to playing ding dong ditch when that gets old and too cold to hack it. Threw on a bomber jacket, you could tell the ballers cause they fell wearing gazelles. If they really had money raised, we sport EKs. And all the girls had they Turkish link. If it broke, then they made earrings to it, like they meant to do it. But sometimes I still sit and reminisce, then think about the years I was raised. Back in the day. Back in the days when I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid. And everybody say, I remember way back when. And everybody say, I remember way back when. And everybody say, I remember way back when. Back in the days I sit and wish I was a kid.
That record really takes me back, man. Like,
Yeah, man. Yo, my boy Dwayne, who I went to FAM with, we were all there at the same time. Ahmad and the youngsters did a promo tour, and they came through FAM and they came on campus, and we got to like talk to them and holler at them right when this record was like,
wow,
man, this takes me back. Great record.
Honestly, Ahmad is like a figure that, you know, this is kind of his only big record.
Yeah.
But the record is so strong that it has continued to last forever.
So iconic, man.
Yeah, it's like the positive version of Return of the Mac. It just keeps coming back. And maybe we don't want Return of the Mac to keep coming back, but Ahmad, back in the day, come on.
Keep bringing it back, man.
I like Return of the Mac.
Return of the Mac.
You know what?
I'm a sucker for
I'm gonna
that
tell
record.
you what, it coming back. I didn't like it back in the day. My brother loved this record. He'll tell you I did not like this record when it was out. I like it now though. So
Return of the Mac?
I can appreciate it now.
I'll
Shout
tell
out
you
to
another
Chucky Booker who
amazing-
gets a check off that song. That's what makes me happiest about Return of the Mac.
Right.
Return of the Mac. Another amazing story is the person who did the drums on Return of the Mac, believe it or not, is Evil D from Black Moon.
Evil D did the drums on Return of the Mac?
No way.
Did not know that.
All right, we're gonna make another connection. So speaking of Evil D drums on that song, remember Evil D sampled all the way back to My Philosophy, how many MCs must get dissed before somebody says don't with Chris, how many MCs. And that he just looped that. So there's so many connections the way all this music connects all of us, man.
Man, see, this is its own cipher that could just keep going. But unfortunately, we got to wrap. And I hope everybody who's watching in the chat, y'all just thank our panelists, Xavier, Raydar, DJ, J.PERIOD, Angie Ange, all of y'all for bringing so much beautiful music and energy to our conversation tonight. And since we were doing show and tell, I just want to do a quick shout out. My t-shirt is for DJ Sabine, blazing straight out of Brooklyn.
Hey,
incredible DJ. If you ever get to hear her spin, we were all kind of intentional in our show and tell and choice t-shirt choices tonight. So again, thank you, Kennedy Center, for having us. Thank you to our guests and panelists for sharing so much of their heart. Shout out to everybody who gave us songs in the chat and just tuned in and vibed with us. We're going to kick it back over to Simone to close us out.
Thank you so much, Fredara. It was such a joy to be with each and every one of you guys this evening. Fredara, thank you for being our ethnomusicologist in residence. Yes, I said it, and I always say that. I am so grateful for you and just your brilliance and light. Raydar, thank you for providing the soundtrack for the evening. Once again, another brother in arms. Jay, Angie, X, thank you so much. It was so fun, and I adore each and every single one of you guys. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your selections and the incredible amount of history. For the audience, thank you guys so much for being a part of this process. Thank you for sharing your selections. I want you to know that the experience continues. We will take the songs that we were not able to share today and create a playlist and share it, with you. So check out our website. Make sure that you stay abreast of the video series. We drop a new episode of Life in 5 every single Thursday. In addition, look out tomorrow because we're dropping a new one. And then also make sure that you come back and spend some time with us next week when we talk about the power of club quarantine. It's a special conversation with two of our council members, D Nice and Jason King, talking about uniting the world through music in times of flux. As we close out, I just want to say thank you to the production team, Sunghae, Sarah, Silky. Thank you for your support of this. In addition, I have to always show gratitude for our council members because they show up, they show out, and it's like you guys have been riding with us for years. So X, J, thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for your continued contribution. And everyone, make sure that you support J.PERIOD when he drops his new release on April 30th. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. This was Life in 5.